Okay.
They were shining at me.
Okay. All right. I'm putting a request to police over there. Actually, they're being dispatched out now, so you should be there as soon as possible.
Oh, okay. As I say, well, all right.
Okay. Yeah, just let them know the whole story when they get there, okay?
Yeah.
Do you need to get that, sir?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm fine. There's nothing other than being a little, upset about it.
Yeah. All right.
But other than that, yeah, I don't need EMS.
Okay. All right. Please be there as soon as possible, sir, okay?
Okay, fine. Thanks very much.
All right, no problem.
Yeah, goodbye.
And that was your 911 call, Mr. Reeser?
Yes.
Now, before you called 911, did you make any other phone calls?
Yes.
Okay. Where did you call?
I called the Bank of America. I guess it's the fraud department, the one that you call if you lose or if the debit cards are stolen.
And were the debit cards that were taken from you, were those Bank of America cards?
Yes, they were.
And when you called Bank of America, and I imagine you spoke with someone there?
Yes.
Were you notified or did you determine whether or not any transactions or attempted transactions were made on your cards?
Yes.
Were there?
There were.
Okay. Do you know what amounts the transactions were?
I don't recall the amounts offhand, but I know they gave them to me. And there were 4 separate transactions from 2 different locations.
Did you ever get any of your items back?
Not really.
Okay. Did the police ever come to your home?
Oh, yes.
And did you tell them what you told us today?
Yes.
And when the police, after the police left, at some point later on, do you remember ever seeing any lineups, either photographic or live lineups?
Yes.
What numbers are those going to be?
169, 168, and 111.
111?
Yep. May I approach, Judge?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Reeser, I'm going to hand you people's proposed exhibit number 168, 169, and 111. Okay?
All right.
That first one that I handed you, 169, do you recognize that document that I've handed to you?
Oh, well, yeah, I guess it was,
Does that look like the lineup sheet that you were given?
Yes.
Would that have been on May the 25th of 2015?
Well, it says May 24th.
May the 24th of 2015. Does that date sound right to you?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay, and did you go into the police precinct to do that?
No, I believe it was some other location.
Were there police officers there?
There were police officers there, yes.
Okay, was it in Hamtramck, if you know?
I think so.
Okay, and in that lineup report that you have there, 169, were you able to make any identifications in there?
Yes.
Okay, do you know which one I'm referring to, Mr. Reeser?
You mean
the papers.
Yeah, it's 169.
Okay. You got that there in front of you?
Yes.
Okay. And were you able to make any identifications?
Yes.
Okay. And which number or numbers did you select?
3.
Number 3?
Yes.
And did you make any
Yes.
type of note by number 3? Or anything to show that you...
Well, yes, I see that I must have written from 511. Well, the question was, where do you recognize this individual?
And did you give an answer?
Yes, from 511-15 home invasion.
Thank you. And now I want to have you look at people's proposed exhibit number 168. You have that in front of you as well.
158.
Yep, I said 168.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Now, 168, is that also one of those lineup reports?
I don't see a 158 here. I see a People's Exhibit 111.
It's 168. Let me come up here and help you.
All right.
May I, Judge? Thank you. Okay, let me take some of this off your hands. Okay. So we've already gone through People's Proposed Exhibit number 169.
Mhm.
I'm going to hand these to you one by one, okay?
Okay.
So
All
let's
right.
go with 168, People's Proposed Exhibit. Is that also a lineup report?
It appears to be.
Okay. And on that lineup report, were you able to identify any individuals? Or individuals?
Yeah.
Which number or numbers?
It looks like it was number 4.
And is there a name associated next to number 4?
Timothy Russell.
Now, I'm going to show you People's Proposed Exhibit number 111.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to switch with you. And back to People's Proposed Exhibit number 168. Did you also make a note here that says, number 4 was the person that came up behind me?
Yes.
Okay. Now, in People's Proposed 111 that you have in your hands, is that now a third lineup report?
I believe it is.
Okay. And would that have been a lineup report related to this case here?
Yes.
Okay. And were you able to make any selections in that?
Well, let's see. It looks like I must have, yes, it looks like I must have identified number 3.
Okay. And can I come up and take that from you?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you say it looks like you must have identified number 3, there's nothing here that shows you circled anything.
Right,
correct?
right.
There are some notes here. Is that correct when you saw
Yes,
it? Okay.
yes.
Did one of the notes next to number 3 say, of the person that came in after the guy with the gun, got the best look?
Got the best look or least look?
Got the least best look. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yes.
I'm sorry about that. So of the person that came in after the guy with the gun, got the least best look.
Yes.
Okay. And that person was number 3, Devontae Jackson.
Right.
Now there's also a note here next to number 4, which is Kevin Smith, correct?
I guess, yes.
Let me show this to you.
I think it is, yeah.
On People's 111 next to number 4, what's that name that you see?
Yes, Kevin Smith.
Okay. And there's a note here that says both subjects were very slim and hair was bigger. Not necessarily braids. The face was longer and taller. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay.
No problem.
Judge, at this time I'd move for admission of People's Proposed Exhibit number 154. I've just spoken to Mr. McWilliams about it, and he had indicated he has no objection.
Correct, the map.
154, the map, yes, that'll be received.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Reeser, I'm handing you exhibit number 154. That's a map, correct?
Yes.
Is that a map of your home?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to put that up on the screen. Does that show where your house is located? Here in the center with the yellow star?
Right.
Okay. May I just have one moment, Judge? Thank you. I have no other questions.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Could you have those previously identified exhibits ready to go on the screen for me, please?
Just let me know what the
Okay,
numbers are.
let's go with 169. Well, okay, let's go with the actual record of that one, if you would.
I don't know how much you need.
One of these.
There's just one.
Sort of 2 pages.
It's just one of them.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. Put up this one here, would you please?
Before you do that, these haven't been introduced into evidence. So is one party or the other going to move for their
They're shown.
admission?
Okay.
They won't even do it at this point.
Okay. Are you offering them to into evidence?
Do you objection?
No.
At this time, the people would move for admission of People's Exhibit Number 111, 170, no, I'm sorry, not 170, 169, and 168.
Okay, without objection. And they're being handed to me for use during cross-examination.
All right.
Thank you. And good morning, Mr. Reeser, I beg your pardon.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good.
Good. And this is quite a traumatic event at your house back on the day in question, isn't that correct?
Yes.
That was May 11th, 2015. Okay. And very shortly after this event, or thereabouts, maybe a week or two, you were asked to go to the police station or a law enforcement agency spot and give some identification. Is that correct?
That's right.
You never saw a live lineup, did you?
Yes, I did.
You did see a live lineup,
Yes.
but you did see photographs too. And
That's
didn't you?
right.
Did you see 2 lineups or 1 lineup?
I believe it was 2.
Okay. And does the date of May the 24th ring true for you as far as
yes.
a lineup goes?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you please put up 168? Okay. Bring it up in its expanded form, please. You can't do it?
Do you want it like this?
Okay, that's good. Okay. You were ushered into a room, were you not, sir?
Yes.
And behind a glass there were certain persons presented to you.
That's right.
Okay, and you were prepared or being asked to give the possible identification of someone in that lineup who had participated as a perpetrator in your home on the
Yes.
day in question.
Right.
Okay. Do you see your signature or your initials any place on the document in question?
On the very bottom right-hand side.
Okay, and what are those?
Pardon me?
Are those your initials?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Do they pertain to, and you see persons listed there 1 through 5, do you not?
Yes.
And with regard to your initials, do those initials, are they connected with any one person that is to be identified by you in this lineup?
The number 4.
Number 4,
Entry.
although your initials appear to be down by number 5, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now you were asked, and you did take time and you looked at the individuals, did you not?
Yes.
Okay. And you made a positive identification, did you not?
Yes,
Okay, and that positive identification was of the person in the lineup known as person number 4, isn't that correct?
that's right.
And the identification name of the person who you picked out was number 4 was Timothy Russell, correct?
Right.
Okay, and you made that identification because that's who you believe one of the perpetrators was, isn't that
That's
correct?
right.
Okay, thank you. And now, if you put up, show up in photo identification number 111 for me, please. Okay, you see this is a more expanded and fully expanded version of a show up and photo identification record, Mr. Reeser?
Yes,
Okay, and on there, do you see your name or initials?
yes,
Okay, and by those names or initials, were you attempting to certify that you had picked someone out of a lineup who had participated in the event that we're talking about at your house on the date in question?
yes,
Okay, and do you see the numbers alongside of names of individuals who may have been in that lineup?
yes,
Okay, and that would have been 1 through 6, isn't that correct?
yes,
Okay, and you did select someone, did you not?
yes,
You did select a number, did you not?
right.
And what number did you select?
3,
Okay, and that would be someone by the name who is indicated would be Devontae Jackson, is that correct?
it appears so, yes.
And you made a positive identification of a person by the name of Devontae Jackson as a perpetrator, isn't that correct?
Yes,
Okay, and you had other names that you could have selected,
well, yes,
okay, and the identification of other persons who were before you that you were looking at, isn't that correct?
yes,
And you selected one, did you not?
well, yes,
Okay, and can you see the name Kevin Smith there?
yes,
Okay, and you specifically did not positively identify Kevin Smith as a person who was there and perpetrated the crimes that you talked about, isn't that correct?
yes.
Okay. At any other time, do you recall ever identifying or saying that a person by the name of Kevin Smith was one of the 2 persons that you said came into your house?
No, not really.
Okay. When you say not really,
Well,
the answer is no, isn't
No.
it? Okay, thank you. And at no time did you ever pick a person by the name of Kevin Smith, or even in this courtroom you did not identify any person as Kevin Smith in this courtroom. Isn't that true?
that's right.
Thank you. Now, with regard to these guns that were displayed, I'm sure they were very fearful. That was quite traumatic. Isn't that correct?
I would say so.
Okay. And the guns that you did describe, they were handguns, were they not?
They were.
Okay. Have you had any military service or experiences in life with regard to knowing the difference between a revolver and automatic or semi-automatic handguns?
No, I haven't.
You know the revolver has a spindle in it, kind of like a cowboy gun, in which there would be a cylinder in which rounds of ammunition would be placed, as opposed to a clip in which would fit into the handle of a gun and would be ejected each time a gun would be fired. You know the difference?
Yes,
Okay. Would you agree with me that rather than possibly a revolver, that the weapons that you saw displayed to you were in fact not a revolver, but in fact semi-automatic pistols?
I don't think I would, because I noticed distinctly a barrel, a round barrel on the gun. At least the one that the individual who came in at first had.
So you're speaking directly of barrels, correct?
That's right.
And you understand that barrels usually are round,
Yes.
because that's where projectiles come out of.
Yes.
Is that what you're describing?
Right.
Okay, thank you. I want to specifically ask you about these so-called appliances that sometimes emit a light. Do you know what I'm referring to now?
Well, I guess the things that had the red beams.
Right. They are sometimes known as laser beams.
Yeah.
And did you ever have any experience previously in any form with regard to laser beams?
No.
Okay. And that's the first laser beam you'd ever seen?
I wouldn't say it was the first. Yeah, probably so, yeah.
Okay. And certainly probably on an alleged weapon, isn't that correct?
What was the first I'd seen in a weapon, yes.
Okay, good. And are you saying that both, for sure, both weapons had laser beams?
That's my recollection.
Okay. Is it possible that you were mixed up, mistaken, that only one had a laser beam?
That's possible.
Okay. At any time did you give a description of the hair or hair features on one or the other of the perpetrators?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And there is no indication that there was a distinction between the hair that you identified with regard to Mr. Timothy Russell. There was no doubt that that was him. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you ever remember, sir, identifying or going through a lineup in which the name that you identified as a person who was there as Don Diego or Mr. Adams? Does that name ring a bell?
Well, it does, only because I got some kind of a subpoena that had his name on it,
Okay.
I believe.
All right. You never saw a lineup in which you described him?
Not to my knowledge.
Or identified him?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. With regard to withdrawals from your account, how long after the event was it that you had called, was it Bank of America?
Yes.
How long was it afterwards that you made that call?
It may have been about maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour.
Okay. Rather promptly, would you say, as opposed to the next day or something like that?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
right.
Did the cards that you had, that we've spoken about, did they leave with the cards, or did they leave the cards?
No, they left with them.
Okay. And how was it that you had the phone numbers to call the security department of Bank of America if they had left the cards?
I would object.
Left without the cards?
Judge, I would object. I don't know how this is relevant.
Overruled.
I looked in the phone book.
Okay, thank you very much. You could tell that the persons were trying to hide their identities?
I don't quite understand what you're...
Okay, did anybody turn the lights on? At all?
I believe they must have, yes.
Okay, but you couldn't, that did not help you illuminate the persons that were doing this to you?
No, because my head was down.
I see. May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Sure.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have at this time, Your Honor, of the witness. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Go right ahead. You bet. Take them.
Now, Mr. Reeser, Mr. McWilliams asked you about somebody by the name of Don Diego Adams. Do you remember
Right.
that?
Right,
And you
yes.
said you don't know, you got a subpoena, right?
That's right.
Okay. Now, were you picking people based on names or just based on what you saw?
What I saw,
And who you remembered perpetrating these acts, right?
yes.
Now, I'm pulling up People's Exhibit number 169. Do you see the person you identified as number 3?
Yes,
Okay. Up at the top right hand corner?
right.
Do you know that person's name? Or did you know that person's name back at the time that...
No,
Okay.
no. I didn't know anyone's name at that point.
Okay. So, regardless of whoever's name, you picked that person out in a lineup, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, are you familiar with the fact that your television has a serial number on it?
Well, yes.
Okay. And at some point, did you give that serial number to Officer Lori Dillon?
I believe I must have.
Would that have been some time ago?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it would have been shortly after
Okay.
the event.
I have no other questions.
Mr. McWilliams?
No, Your Honor.
Any questions by the jurors? All right, we have a question. Hang on just a second, Mr. Reeser.
All right.
Let me see the attorneys, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Oh, pardon, sir.
Okay. All right, with regards to the juror question, the juror question has to do with exhibit number 169, where Mr. Reeser had indicated that he identified number 3. And is there a name associated with number 3? If they're talking with the attorneys, let me just indicate this. The there is a difference between what is recorded with regards to a live lineup sheet where you've seen numbers and names, and photographic arrays where people look, where they have numbers but they don't have names written for those. But as your question indicates there, and the testimony has been that the individual in number 3 position was identified. Talking with the attorneys, I anticipate your question will be answered with another witness in a little bit. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, you bet. Anything additionally then, Mr. Reeser? Thank you very much. You may be excused, sir, or you may remain if you so choose.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Have another witness?
Judge, at this time, the people have a stipulation.
All right.
It's People's Proposed Exhibit number 493 that I'll read into the record at this time.
Thank you.
This stipulation is signed by Mr. Attorney John McWilliams as well as Assistant Prosecutor Robert Morand. The stipulation is as follows. The records attached to this stipulation are fair and accurate copies of information provided by Bank of America. That information was recorded by Bank of America at or near the time it received that information from a person knowledgeable about it and was kept in the course of regularly conducted business by Bank of America. Attached to this stipulation is a 2-page document, the records of David Reeser. Is that correct? Thank you.
All right, and ladies and gentlemen, as I've told you before, stipulation is just an agreement between the parties that eliminates the necessity of calling a bunch of witnesses when everybody agrees what the testimony is going to be. All right? You may accept these stipulated facts as being true. It's your job to decide what weight to give. All right?
At this time, the people will call... Yes.
Full name to my
First name is Paul, P-A-U-L. Last name is Pesmark, P as in Paul. M-A, architect.
You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, self
Yeah, I do.
Please have a seat, adjust the microphone in front of you.
May I proceed, Judge?
Please.
Thank you. Can you tell us your name?
Paul Pesmark,
And how are you employed?
the City of Detroit, Detroit Police Department,
How long have you been a Detroit police officer?
15 years.
What is your current assignment?
I am a sergeant with the Cybercrimes Unit. I am assigned out to the Michigan State Police Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, as well as the FBI's Southeastern Trafficking and Exploitation of Children Task Force.
Now, what was your assignment back in May, on May 11th, or around that time of 2015?
I was assigned out to both the ICAC Task Force and the Human Trafficking Task Force.
Were you asked to assist in any way in the investigation of a robbery that had occurred at 14600 Faust Street in the city of Detroit?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was your role in this investigation?
I recovered video.
Have you ever done that before?
Yes, ma'am.
Approximately how many times have you recovered video evidence, if you can estimate?
Approximately thousands.
Have you received any type of training in order to extract video?
Yes, ma'am. I've been trained by the FBI through the FAVL course on how to extract video.
And did you go to some locations with regard to the 14600 Faust robbery?
Yes, ma'am.
Who directed you to those locations?
Officers Dillon and Officers Burkott. I'm sorry, Officers Lori Dillon and Thomas Zaburkott.
Okay.
Thank you.
May I approach, Judge?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm handing you people's proposed exhibit number 460. Do you recognize that?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you recognize that as being?
This is the liquor store from which I pulled video from for this incident.
A photograph?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that image fairly and accurately represent the way that that gas station would have looked back around the time of May the 11th of 2015?
This is a liquor store, ma'am.
Or at the liquor store, I'm sorry.
Yes, it accurately depicts the liquor store.
At this time, I would move for admission of People's Exhibit number 460. Yes. Can you tell me that address?
14555 Livernois.
Now, what did you do upon going to that location, if you recall?
Let me hear whether or not there's...
No objection.
Oh.
No? Okay, it'll be received.
Thank you. And I'm going to put that up for you. Is that location behind you on the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that the entrance you used? I'm going to mark here with my pointer. Right over here where this gold vehicle is, towards the center right-hand side, towards the bottom.
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you do upon going to that location?
I met with the officers in charge of the case, Dillon and Zaburkott, and we reviewed the video in question based off of time of ATM transactions.
So you were looking specifically for the 8 p.m. time period. Is that what you said?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so what do you do in order to get that time period?
What I do is, before I even start manipulating the video recorder, I look to see what time it displays, and then I look to see what time is displayed on a point of reference. In this case, I was using my cell phone, and the time displayed on the cell phone. I look for any kind of time differential between the two, and then I also make adjustments for that time in where and when I will look in the video for any incident in question.
Did you notice a time differential at this location?
I believe I did, yes.
Okay. Do you recall the amount of time?
If I may refer to my report.
Would looking at your report that you drafted refresh your recollection as to the time differential at this specific location?
It would.
Please look at your report.
Yes, ma'am. It was approximately 15 minutes off.
Faster or slower, if you know?
15 minutes faster.
So the video displayed 15 minutes faster than real time, if you will.
Correct. Based off of my report, the time reflected in the DVR was 12:24 p.m. and the time reflected on my cell phone was 12:09 p.m.
Now, were you able to determine what type of a system was at this liquor store?
It was a Night Owl standalone DVR.
Have you ever extracted video from that type of a system before?
Yes, ma'am.
So what did you do upon making an observation of the type of video equipment that you had?
I looked at the DVR and I saw where it was. Based off the way it was installed and the things surrounding it, I did not want to manipulate it in such a way where it might hamper the evidence or disconnect any loose wiring. So I did not pull it out or anything like that. There was a USB port in the front that I was able to use, and between using the buttons and manipulating the device, I was able to observe the device's settings and using the menu, search through the device to search for the video in question.
Were you able to locate the video in question?
Yes, ma'am.
And is the video that we're discussing here video from surveillance cameras?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you yourself observe surveillance cameras affixed anywhere inside of that liquor store?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know how many there were?
I believe there was a total of 16. However, camera 12 was not acquiring data at that time.
So what does that mean?
For whatever reason, there was no data coming into the DVR from that camera.
So no video, if you will?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, when you identify this, do you download that, like you said, with your USB?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what happens then?
I then verify that it plays back. So what I saw and observed in the machine was acquired and represents and depicts what I observed on the device. And then what I do is I can generate a hash value for all the files that were acquired. And using the program MD5 Summer, it takes the file itself and generates a unique serial number, or a VIN number, if you will, to uniquely identify that file. So that way, if the file has been tampered, degraded, or altered over time, if you run the program, any MD5 program, and you run that against the files in question, if it's been altered with, the serial number will be different. If it's still the same, it means the file is intact as the day it was when I downloaded it.
So it's kind of a safeguard.
Yes, ma'am.
And you did that here?
Yes, ma'am.
In the video that you observed, you said you played it back. Did it play back properly, and what you had taken off there was what was actually on the system?
Initially it did not. There was no native file format player, and what that is that it's a program that plays the video back. Having used this kind of system before and acquired video from it, I had kept the native file format player with me, and what I was able to do is play the video back using that system, using the native file format player, and that's how I was able to observe that it was actually the file that I observed on the machine itself.
So you couldn't play the file just on its own. You needed their special player to kind of get it going.
Excuse me. Yes. People that, companies that make their own surveillance systems generate their own programs, their own software, because that's what they think is best for them and their company. But in order to get that video to play back, they have to include a translation type of software, if you will, that allow it to play on Windows machines or whatever laptop or computer that a person might have, so that way there's some kind of interoperability.
What do you do then?
In general, or with this case?
In this case, once you kind of played it back and got it to play on that program, what do you do then?
For purposes of aiding the investigation, I used some capture software to acquire still images to aid the investigation further.
Now these still images are exact replicas of a video that you viewed?
It's kind of like a screen capture. It highlights the area, and then what it does, it records it as a image of what is highlighted from the computer itself, and it generates a image, either a PDF or a JPEG image.
PDF or?
JPEG. J as in John, P as in Paul, E as in Edward, G as in George.
Had you made any enhancements to the video?
No, ma'am.
Anything to clarify the video or anything like that?
No, ma'am.
Do you do anything to enhance or clarify any of the still photographs?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Number?
174. May I approach?
Yes.
Now I'm handing you people's proposed exhibit number 174. Have you seen that disc before?
Yes, you provided it earlier today.
And did you have an opportunity to look at it?
Yes, ma'am.
And does that disc contain items that you extracted or removed from that system that you've just discussed?
Yes, it contains a native file format video from the incident in question.
Does it also contain still images?
I believe this video does not.
So it's just the video part of it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And does it fairly and accurately depict the video that you observed when you were at that liquor store?
Yes, ma'am.
At this time, I would move for admission of people's proposed exhibit number 174.
Without objection.
Will be received.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like permission to publish some of the camera angles to the jury.
That's fine.
Thank you. Now, Sergeant Pesmark, with these videos, there's several different camera angles for the different cameras that are located within the store, right?
Correct.
And each camera angle kind of shows something different, right?
Correct.
I'm going to start with camera 1, and I have a clip of the camera 1, and I'm going to display it there on the screen behind you.
Okay.
Now, Sergeant Pesmark, do you recognize this location that's being depicted here?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that an area in the store?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know where specifically?
That would be towards the back of the store. Excuse me. Excuse me. That would be toward the back of the store.
And were you told to focus on anything specifically when you were reviewing these videos?
Yes.
What were you told to focus on?
The person using the ATM machine.
Okay, and do you know where the ATM machine is located in relation to where we're looking at here on this video?
In looking to the front, if the gentleman in question with his finger to his cheek, what appears to be a gentleman with a finger to his cheek, he's looking what would be to our right. The ATM machine would be to the right of us or in front of him. This is the back of the store, so maybe about, and this is just approximate, so this is not any accurate dimension, distance, or anything like that, but approximately 20-30 feet in front of him would be the ATM machine, which would be closer to the front door.
Okay. And you're saying well, I'll continue to let this play. Now, the front of the store that you just referred to, I'm going to direct your attention to camera 9. Is that the front of the store area?
That would be the entrance.
And were you able to observe what time was indicated on that?
If you could replay that again, please. The date and time, as recorded by the device itself, is displayed at the top of the video in the center.
And would that be an accurate time that's on there, or would that be the differential that you're talking about that we need to factor in?
The time differential has not been factored into this time.
So it would be, what would the time be, factoring in the time differential, if you were aware?
It'd be 10:44.
10:44 p.m. on May the 11th of 2015?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to play camera angle 4 for you. Is that also in the store?
Yes, ma'am.
And where is the ATM with relation to this?
Where the larger gentleman is at the front counter, it would be approximately behind him.
Just may I have one moment? You said you also prepared some stills with regard to this case?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Do any objections?
No.
Judge, at this time, I've spoken with defense counsel, and I would move to admit People's Proposed Exhibit number 185, 186, 187, and 188.
As outtakes of the video that we were seeing, am I correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Any objection?
No.
May I approach,
Well,
Judge?
according to my records, they've already been admitted, so go ahead.
Thank you. Now, Sergeant Pesmar, I'm going to hand you People's Exhibit number 188, as well as People's 186. I'm going to put up 186 first. Is that a still frame from the video that we just viewed?
It is.
From a different camera angle?
It is.
And the date and time there is May 11th, 2015 at 10:59 and 48 seconds p.m.
Correct.
Not factoring in the time differential.
Correct.
And I'm going to also pull up People's Exhibit number 188. Now, is that another still frame of a camera angle with inside the store?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is that one that's near the ATM?
Yes, ma'am.
Now I'm going to take your attention now to a second location. Were you also called to go to a second location to do much the same thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And would that have been 14481 Livernois?
Yes, ma'am.
Yep, 459.
Okay.
May I approach?
Yes.
I'm handing you People's Proposed Exhibit number 459. Is that a photograph of that gas station?
It is.
Does that fairly and accurately depict the way that the gas station looks back on May the 11th of 2015?
It does.
Is that what you have in your hand there up on the screen?
It is.
Can you tell me what you do once you arrive at this location?
Armed with the information provided by the officers in charge, I continue to pull video for the same incident in question.
During the same time periods?
The approximate same time period. The person couldn't be at both places at the same time. But there was information from the ATM machine that it had been accessed in a close time period. So I was looking at that time period.
To determine whether or not there was anything of relevance on the surveillance video?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you able to identify what type of a system was used at this location?
It was a Windows-based system, uses a regular computer. The software suite is called GeoVision, and I believe the model of the software is GV800.
And could you determine how many camera angles or how many cameras were within that location?
If I may refresh my memory from my report, please.
Please do so.
12 cameras.
And did you download from all 12 cameras?
Yes.
Number 189.
Yeah. Do you have any objection or do you want me?
No.
Can I just admit it?
Sure.
Judge, at this time I'd move for admission of People's Exhibit number 189. I've spoken with defense counsel and he's indicated he does not have an objection.
So we're going to play it. No objection, Ron.
All right, that's fine.
Thank you.
Received.
Thank you. And Sergeant Pesmark, did you also create stills from this surveillance video as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now I'm going to play that video for you, some portions of that. From camera 3. Now, is this the inside of the store as you remember it?
Yes, this is inside the gas station.
Would this be the camera angle that is facing towards the ATM machine?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is there a time or date note on this video?
Yes, in the lower left-hand corner.
And I should have asked you this before, but is there some sort of a time differential at this location?
No, the system was fairly accurate.
And I believe it says in your report that it was within a second. Is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
correct? Okay. So you consider that to be an accurate time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm going to play this video. Sergeant Pesmark, I'm going to play just one other clip from camera angle 10. Now, do you recognize where this is at?
This is from the gas station as well, the Sicko gas station, looking down from the countertop towards the area of the front door on the interior of the building.
And I'm going to play, I'm sorry, one other clip from that camera angle 10.
Thank you.
195.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take 10 minutes. Have you step into the jury room?
All rise.
I'm gonna need those organizations that you see. You got some money on your way right there.
I'm sorry.
About child exploitation.
Oh yeah, not a problem.
You got a TV or anything?
Not with me, no
Okay, well,
ma'am.
just tell me the organizations that you're working with.
Michigan State Police.
May be seated.
It's the internet crimes. Oh yeah, not a problem.